we have someone from the ATS, the Anti-Terrorist Squad, police, to address us. Right, I can imagine the question mark. What police? Why police? And in Xbrl conference? To address all of that, you have to just spend 2 more minutes for us. Please wait. In the meantime, I will request Usha madam to please come on the stage. So right, now the time for that question. Xbrl, police, anti-terrorist squad, what's that? To answer those queries, I have Swaminathan with me, my colleague. He'll just give you a brief background on what Xbrl and police are doing together.
Morning. You know, it's not often that people say good things about the police. We usually either scared of them, terrified of them, or hate them. Sorry, that's the truth. And I don't think we've often seen a very pretty policeman we have here. It's a compliment. Say thank you.
Thank you.
Xbrl will take off if there are people who benefit from it. Xbrl will stagnate if there are people who don't benefit from it. If users are willing to have a leap of faith, the opportunities for Xbrl are enormous. Whether it be smart contracting that John talks about, whether it be smart documents, I think you need a user to make it work. So I was invited by NASSCOM to basically do some work for the police. They had a problem with data. And that's how the whole thing started. So I went to her boss, Niket Kaushik, and I said to him, listen, you can take the traditional approach. You can take the documents, you can keep the documents in a document warehouse of some sorts, and you can do pretty much what you want to do with it. Or you can trust me. You can trust me by implementing a standard, an open source standard, which will make it easy for you to compare information, exchange information across jurisdictions. He said, "Hum akele karenge to kya hoga? No fayda. Maharashtra has to do it, Gujarat has to do it, others have to do it." I said, make a beginning. You have investigation reports, let the investigating reports start talking to each other. Let them become smart investigation reports instead of static reports. Make them interactive reports. What all can you actually do? And I said, depute someone on the project who understands technology and understands policing. There are 2 implementations of Xbrl today in Maharashtra, with the Maharashtra police. One is the crime records of Maharashtra are now in Xbrl. And second, the anti-terrorist squad has moved the whole investigation into Xbrl. There's still a long way to go, but the beginning has been made. The first step has been taken. And I think, I don't know how much we can actually share with you, but when you see the way they approach technology, the way they approach data, you can go home and sleep well. Thank you.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? Xbrl for nabbing criminals. Amazing. So just to introduce the speaker for this session, a special session indeed. Usha Suryavanshi, Police Inspector, Data Analysis Wing, Anti-Terrorism Squad, Mumbai, Maharashtra. She joined Maharashtra Police Organization in the year 96 and after completing the training resumed at District Jalna, Aurangabad range as a probationary police sub-inspector. She's been working with various departments of Maharashtra Police like Special Protection Unit, Mumbai Crime Branch, Anti-Narcotic Cell, Cybercrime Investigation Cell and Modus Operandi Bureau of Crime Branch. And further reader to the Commissioner of Police Thane. In 2014, after being promoted, she joined the Anti-Terrorism Squad of Maharashtra and currently is posted at the Data Analysis Wing. Presently, she is working on the development of a data mining application based on Xbrl for analysis of the dynamic data available at ATS. To conduct this presentation today, she is also being joined by her colleague Rahul, who will be taking us through this presentation. Please give a huge round of applause.
Good afternoon, everybody. This conference is totally financial, about the financial data. And here we have a data which is totally different, has nothing to do with numbers or digits. But then the textual data basically is digitized. And the application which is based on Xbrl has made the data mining process, whatever it is at our end, a bit easier and faster. So this presentation will take you across. This is what your Xbrl is primarily at present being used. And with ATS, we are using it with the in the non-financial domain. For us, our data basically is totally unstructured. We don't have columns, we don't have any standards, we don't have any parameters. Our investigation reports, our information system is sparsely digitized. It is digitized, but it's not so very well digitized. We use digitization at the level of MS Office. So PDF, Word, and all these kind of unstructured data, which is in store with us. We were actually those were our challenges when we started with this application. This is what basically we had to achieve. I mean, our data analysis, which was a manual process, was there into documents, PDFs, words, somewhere handwritten also at places. We had scanned those copies and maintained it for years. At ATS, I mean, terrorism is a crucial subject. Today, the ramification is globally seen. You read every second day in the newspaper. But then when the investigation process at the back end, what the investigators do, how the police function, and with the limited resources, it's really very difficult. It's tedious and cumbersome. So we had all this kind of stuff at our end, wherein we were falling short of doing a overall mining of that information. So here we started doing that at our end. We had this multilingual challenge. State functions in Marathi language. So all our reports, all our documentation is in Marathi. So that is what a challenge we had. Then these technical challenges were very well taken care of by this IRIS team. They worked with us extensively for last 1.5 years and helped us to structure our unstructured data, understand our data better, to collate and bring it at a common pool for analysis. So, Rahul, please, you can explain this.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad that we are having this session before lunch because this will leave you with a lot of things to think and talk about. Okay, now this is the very basic question everybody asks. Why Xbrl? I mean, the gentleman who just asked a question here was also related, why Xbrl, why not XML? Now let's, I mean, these are pretty standard words that are there everywhere you go, and you will see that Xbrl should do this and that. But in this specific case, what we needed is not just the data. What we needed is the relationships between the data. Because a person is related with other person. A person is related with a geographical location. It is related with an organization. It is related with an event. It is related with an action that he does and he has done in his history. So those relationships, if we try to establish in XML, it becomes difficult. And it becomes more difficult to extract those data along with those relationships. And this is where Xbrl comes into picture. You take each individual information about that particular person, from his history to what he probably will do in the future, collate it in the database, and then do a mashup. In that mashup, I can identify I can predict what this person would do in the future, who are his associates, what is his family background, how much education he has, and all those stuffs. And all those things are created in relationships. And these relationships are built in link bases, and link bases form very important part of Xbrl. So this is how the flow goes. Another important question which I want to answer for the gentleman who asked about the multilingual facility. The data that is stored in this Xbrl, it did not be English always. You can have your own language specific fact values as well. When we say that Xbrl caters to multilingual requirement is that it captures multiple fact values from multiple languages. It is able to store those fact values from those languages, and it will help you render it, analyze it based on whatever language you choose. So the first important step to do this is to put the multilingual data in Xbrl first, and then do the analysis on that. Right now in India, whatever filings have been happening is for English, so that's why the analysis is on English. But the moment, like for ETS, we are putting in more data for multiple languages, and they will be able to analyze the criminal data for multi-languages that is there in the system. So that is for the XBRL multi-language and relationship that we want to create, and this can be created only using XBRL, and that's how we are going ahead with it. Okay, so next.
We had developed this application, XBRL based, which serves as a platform to connect the crime and criminal as well as the central repository for all the information, accused-based information, profiling and indexing of the people and their behavioral aspects, their criminal behaviors basically over the period of time, their interconnections, relationships. All these things we had on this, with this application, it became very easier for us to get it at one click, or you can say at one platform. So this is the taxonomy part basically, more technical. Yeah.
So, so when we do XBRL, we have to have a taxonomy first. So what is the scope of the taxonomy? So the scope of the taxonomy is the interrogation reports. What are the interrogation reports? Is basically you pick a guy, ask 10 then thousands of questions, he'll give you a lot of answers, and you record it in a document. That's what the interrogation report is. Now this interrogation report goes into a lot of text. So many text that if a person starts reading it, probably it will take a week's time to complete the full document. And imagine that person has to do analysis of a person, of an event, of a geographical location, reading all this document, and then suggesting the ATS what is the direction for the investigation and how it should be done. So that's why there was a grave need to put these reports into XBRL first. So that's what we have taken up, the interrogation reports. Taxonomy for the same. The taxonomy has got, people who know XBRL, they know that there are various artifacts of XBRL, and these are the artifacts, and we have just put in some statistics for the same. So there are 262 primary elements, which means these will capture the fact values. The fact value will be name of the person, what he was doing, what he is doing now. He is affiliated with organizations and everything. And the type dimension part is, which is very important here, the 27 count here, because the data that ATS wants to capture, there is no limit to that data. You cannot term that a person will have 100 friends. A person might have 1,000 friends. A person might have no friends at all. So such kind of dynamic data creation was needed in this particular implementation, and we implemented it using the type dimensions. So some of the statistics, majorly we use type dimensions and text block in this particular taxonomy to capture the fact values. You want to cover this? Yeah.
This is basically the sample format of the original IR. IR, what he was speaking about, it's an interrogation report, an interrogation by the investigation officer, any accused when he is arrested. His interrogation report is made. So initially we were doing it on our own, and it was totally unstructured. It was formally structured. So the interrogation report can run into pages from 25 to 100 almost. And it's totally, the initial part is structured and the rest is total text. So it's about the early childhood, then the growth, the education, the development of that person, his links, his friends, school, college, where he has been, how he has been, whom he has been meeting, which places, where he is moving, all these kind of information, which may at times appear non-relevant, but after certain period, after some years, 9, 10, 12 years, it may appear relevant. So these kind of information was getting collated at our end. And IR basically is a very major or a very important, crucial document for us. And the whole application basically, ATS ecosystem you can say? Yeah, that's based on the IRs. This is your taxonomy instance document, right?
No, this is where the data is punched in.
So iTool, what's iFile tool, what's the XBRL team says. So here we punch our data, that's again textual. And this is our portal, how it appears as on today. The basic development which has been done with the IRs, IR records. These are again the taxonomy features, Rahul.
Okay, so giving some more details about the taxonomy. Uh, so taxonomy will have only one entry point as of now because we are catering to only one type of report. Some of the features that I want to talk about the taxonomy is that it is 2.1 and 1.0 compliant. Yes, there are some customization that we have done to cater to the requirement of ATS, but it majorly complies with 2.1 and 1.0 specification. Extensive use of type dimension. Table link base is something that we have implemented in this taxonomy, uh, which is a global phenomena, and table link base is the future where presentation link base will probably be abolished and people will start adopting table link base and start using it more often. So that's where it is going. So we are using a future or implementation of table link base here. Labels are available in English as of now, but there would be multiple languages that we have planned to put in. Right now it uses presentation and definition for display purposes, for capturing of data, and specifically it is the definition link base that is more important to us because that's where the relationships are actually stored. So just with a single XML file we can identify the relationships between various concepts and dig out a lot of information about that particular person. Okay, yeah, this you want to go. So next two are yours and then we'll ask questions.
Yeah. So this is the value addition to ATS. I mean, with Xbrl, we are little bit now empowered in a better way to handle our data, analyze it. Crime and criminal information is at one end to us now, at one platform. The reduction of manual effort, basically all this analysis, I mean relating 100 documents or one document or one file which is of 100 documents, going through it, you forget the first document or the first line what you have been reading of the text, and that too very abstract text. So this is what has happened. It has reduced the time. Elimination of duplication. Central repository of all the accused persons, basically their all history. It reports, various kinds of reports are generated which helps us, I mean, for investigation purposes. Transparency, so that the comparison part of analysis, I mean, comparing the IR reports and all. Interrogation officer gets the availability of records. Field officers are assisted, and supervision, I mean senior bosses, superiors, and at the central level also we can easily supervise. So these are the capabilities and future possibilities. It's like our information exchange platform, multi-language support, what Rahul just said. Then integration of other platforms or other applications basically into one application, biometric, facial recognition, retina scan, all these kind of records, I mean, from various platforms we plan to integrate here. Biometric search can be also enabled here. Geographical map movement basically is the accused person or the person moving from places during all his period, whatever has been quoted in the documents. The linkages also of his geographical movement with other accused persons or other people. Then the comparison of the documents, basically one IR matching with the other IR. And artificial intelligence, I think Rahul, you should be a better person to say that.
So these are the future possibilities. One of the major future possibilities that we see is, of course, apart from geographical map movement, is the artificial intelligence. First, I'll want to talk more about the geographical map movement, where we are looking for a Google Map integration into the system, where the Google Map will take the data that is stored in Xbrl, which goes into a database, and that data will be integrated with Google Map. And the data that we are talking here are the places, the date and times. And with that, once you open a Google Map, you can have a track of the person, where he has traveled and everything. If there are multiple people traveling to the same destination, there is a possibility for something for that location, and that's where the ATS gets more value addition there. Artificial intelligence, again, once you have the data, you can predict the events. And yes, it is possible to predict the event if you have enough history of a person. If a person has been involved in a lot of events in the past and he was interrogated by many people, you can definitely say that that person might be about to do something. And that is a possible, threat alert that should be there. And this information, if ATS gets in real time, then the investigation can be started immediately, and the follow-up of that person can be started immediately, and action can be taken to avoid a potential threat for the country. So that's where we are looking at right now. A lot of work has to be done on that. It is not as easy as I'm saying it. It obviously is very difficult. But some quite innovating ideas are there in these possibilities, and we hope to develop them and be proud of developing them. Uh, Thank you very much for this session. If you have any questions, we'll take those questions now. Yes, sir. Can we have a mic for the...
Good afternoon.
Hello, sir.
It was a very interesting one. And based upon the recommendation of in big data, how far it is being, because future possibilities you told, how far this big data is going to be made use of. Second, in the France terror attack recently, they were in a position to zero in on the criminal or whatever it is
Right.
in less than a week.
Right.
Whether this kind of possibility you have put into effect, or by concealing the identity, you will be in a position to share where the success story about the implementation of this in a real life situation, so that it will give you a little more confidence.
Right.
Thank you.
So about the big data, of course, we are talking of huge amount of data, and how do we store it and how do we extract it. Infrastructure is a big concern here, because the data will be collated from all the places in Maharashtra, and probably in the future it will come from various parts of India as well. So managing the big data, there are some breakthroughs that we are doing to manage that data in the ecosystem. Of course, I cannot share the details with you. But yes, we are talking of big data here, and we are managing it in our own way. It may not be a standard way of it, but it caters to the requirement of ATS. The other question was with respect to integration. Whatever happened in France, it should not happen, and people should be able to predict such situations. These can be done once you have the details of an individual, and you collate that detail with whatever details it is there with some other regulators, like passport agencies, like travel authorities, and for all those agencies. They could have identified the people they are traveling with and the places they were traveling, and with that they could have predicted that these bunch of people, the 10 people who did whatever they were not supposed to do in France, they could have predicted that this group is meeting often, and probably an investigation should be started. Such information, they do get information like this every day. Problem is, it is all in paper document and nobody reads it. And when the reading happens, it's actually after the event, not before the event. And that's what we want to achieve with automating this thing. Thanks a lot for your question. Yes, sir.
Sir, every month we are getting circulars from Reserve Bank declaring the list of terrorists and updating the bank software.
Okay.
That list is sent by, I think, Federal Reserve and something like that. Similarly, the banks are advised to also generate CTR, STR, which you are reporting to FI India. But during the past so many years, we are sending it, we are updating it, but nowhere we find that this data is shared with the banks to protect the banks for opening of such accounts.
Okay. I understand.
So is there any measures? Because in spite of sending all these documents, we find that cases are going on. You are in the police department. So that this data should be shared so that banks can take preventive measures for even to begin with, not to open such type of accounts. Now at present what happened, you are getting the information, we are updating, we are sending, but nowhere there is a coordination between the state police or FI India or any other regulatory authorities.
Sure.
But because of that, we observed that many times regulators they point out lot of things during their statutory inspection. I think, okay, to certain extent, you may not disclose all, but ultimately as a chief of the bank, I have to protect my interest and my depositor interest also. So can you enlighten on this issue?
Of course, it would be RBI who can give you more details on it. But the way I see it, and having been working in Xbrl field quite a long time, uh, yes, the initiative has started, and people have slowly understanding the benefits of Xbrl. The problem in India right now is that people are not enoughly educated in Xbrl. They don't know the benefits of it. And conferences like this and events like this will only help people understand Xbrl and how to extract benefits from it. The information that you are saying, yes, every regulator stores proprietary information with them. And yes, there is no integration where the information is shared across the regulator. But the regulators are coming together. I personally know few of the collaboration which they are doing, and they are sharing the information. These collaboration may not be in public always. Some of them has to be kept very private for very obvious reasons. So probably some information you will get in public domain once things are stable and everything. Xbrl is slowly getting picked up in this country, and we need to all be patient and see the results of it coming in the future. Right now, the important thing is just to educate yourself for Xbrl, what are the benefits, try to use it, see if you are able to use it, and once you get more familiar with it, the benefits will start coming to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Acha, this is Bikhay. Wow. Can you share the mic with him? Yeah, mic. Can you please take? No, please give the mic to him. There's another question here. I hope it's not a difficult question, Bikhay.
No, it's a very simple one actually.
Okay.
It's extremely impressive implementation of, and a very new implementation of Xbrl. My quick question is, I know it's relatively early for that, but are you thinking about bringing it globally as a potential solution that could help across the borders, not only within India, but maybe in cooperation with other countries, in cooperation with police from other countries, in order to search and try to link this information across, help with fighting international crime?
Madam, here.
See, as of now, we have started this project with ATS. Now, maybe once it rolls on and gives results, delivers the appropriate results, in a couple of years we'll be able to extend it to our other states and the other states further to the national level. I have researched somewhere on the internet also. I mean, some international countries, are already doing this big data analysis in XBRL. You can find it out. It's there on the net. Before coming here, I just scanned through the net to just know how this big data analysis is serving the LEAs internationally. It is really in use now at, I think so, in US. You may be a better person to enlighten on that. But then it has already been used for this kind of analysis. So your solution, it should extend. There should be no problem. Yes. So, thanks.
Any other questions? All right. End of a fantastic session, of course. It was an interesting one. The amount of questions that we had was maximum, so yes, that makes sense. And the ATS and the police doing this is really wonderful. Congratulations there. I would request now Srinivasa to please give a memento as a token of appreciation. Please put your hands together. Usha Suryavanshi. Rahul. Now I'll request him to give a vote of thanks.
Friends, when we were young, right from that day we listened to stories. Right from the time we listen, then we write our own stories when we grow old. The stories I know of, what we like or what we want to write, one type is love stories, Second is stories of war, very fascinating stories. Love stories are fascinating. War stories are even more fascinating. I speak on fraud from the stage, so I thought fraud stories were most fascinating so far. But today, we learned that crime stories can also be fascinating if you really allow them to speak. Um, Usha Suryavanshi of Anti-Terrorism Squad and Rahul did very well. I always think we see all Hindi movies and Rahul is a very common name in Hindi movies. If you see, very popular person is always Rahul, the person who is, so he did extremely well today to be the hero here and explaining us what the department is doing on Xbrl and supported Usha ji very well. First time we got from this, all of us, most of us I think sitting here are chartered accountants, and how this XBRL can be used in non-financial domain was a learning to us. Good that they had so many challenges, and when faced with challenges, police are the one who would face them head on, and you know that absence of automation or multilingual platform or whatever they face, they still had a relationship with data, crime, criminals, and criminal data. They did very well, and this has very great value addition to ATS. One thing from their talk, I was a little worried when we called police department. I am a part of examination committee for 3 years in ICI, and when people ask me to talk to students on examination, it's a very delicate way of speaking, There is something which can be said and something which just cannot be said. So I was worried how they do it, this delicate balance in what can be said and what cannot be said. They did not say what should not have been said. I think that is what the success of this session is, that they still told us what they do, but they still did not tell us what they didn't want to tell. I think another feature, have you noticed? We have seen, all of us have seen English movies, right? Police coming with guns. English movies always police have a lot of guns. In India, we don't find police having guns. Hardly anyone, she is an inspector, she will have. Others will hardly have guns. But how they move in English movies, one will come forward, then the other will cover. Then the second will come forward, he will cover. So this is how they move. When they are going to the criminals, you have seen the same here, right? They were covering each other. And one person who is staying in the back, in police department it's always said, one who is at the back says, you go ahead, I am there to protect you. It is how you cover each other. In military also, they say that one who is at the back is actually giving assurance to one who is moving forward, yes, I am there for you, I will cover you. And nothing will happen to you. This is how they covered. I think a very big applause to them for their efforts.
Well, rightly said. We had all the elements of a fine movie, whether Hindi or English. Rahul is, of course, now the Dilwale of the ATS, I think. So yes, after this end of this movie, let's break for lunch. Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's good, but so 1:15, it's on the clock. We'll get back at 2 p.m. Let's have lunch quickly, and please assemble so that we can begin our next session. I'm sure the next session will be again a promising one. See you.